Happy September. It's a new month and a new hope for the New York Mets. The wild card is a little bit less of a pipe dream. Conforto's back. And don't worry, ladies, Nimmo.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
It's alive! In the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God.
Now, I don't know if I want to go that far, Dr. Frankenstein, but it is a great feeling here on Mets Wrap 360. There is life to the season. Hello, I'm Christian Bladt, at Christian DMZ. And to my left, camera right, for those of you watching on YouTube, Melissa Weinstein, at Melissa Wine.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back. Now, Melissa, you were here a few weeks ago when I did indeed have a funeral for the Mets season.
Mm-hmm.
We shot the season into space, and I did hold out hope, and here we are, where we have had lightning strike the corpse of the Mets season in the form of the Frankenstein monster, and it's alive. It's got a pulse. There's hope. I was going to say there's no guarantee of October, but technically there is because the season ends like October 3rd. Yeah. So, but playoff baseball is not guaranteed, but it's in reach. Yes. It's realistic. Anyway, happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And happy to have all of you here. There is a Mets game going on right now. The last time that we did the show, when there was a Sunday night game, which was a couple weeks ago, they were up in San Francisco, and there was a no-hitter by Jeff Samardzija until late in the game, but it turned out in the Mets' favor, so let's hope we have good luck again with the Sunday night game. Not with us this weekend, once again, Matt Ritter, he is on assignment. Andrea Fasano also on assignment, but Andrea fans, you'll be glad to know, those watching on YouTube, the Cape is here. So her good luck. Oh, I knocked over Mr. Matt. That's terrible. Her good luck is here with us. But as I said, with us is Melissa Weinstein. We appreciate you, always being ready in the bullpen. She's always, kind of keeping loose, doing the stretches, that thing with the arm that they do. She's always ready. And in a moment, we're going to talk about one of the most important parts of New York Mets baseball on television. Gary Cohen, but I understand that you've worn something that ties into this. I have. For those watching on YouTube, she has a sweatshirt on right now. She would not tell me what shirt she's wearing. And for those watching, you will see my shirt, which is the Mets Hawaiian shirt. It's got a lot of, it's very loud, very obnoxious. I feel like the only places I'm allowed to wear it are San Diego, Los Angeles for a day game, and maybe Arizona. But I don't know. I really only feel like wearing it in San Diego. I wore it once to a Dodger game. But this is a special day. It's Labor Day weekend. People are on vacation. I felt like let's bust out. Oh, by the way, it has baseball buttons. I don't think you noticed that.
That's so cool.
So, I'm wearing something special. Melissa, you are also wearing something special. So if you want to carefully remove the sweatshirt,
are you ready?
Keeping in mind we're live on the internet.
Are you ready?
And yeah, I am. And it just says #Gare.
I worked really hard on this.
I love that. It says, wait, so you made it yourself?
Yes.
You did not buy that from...
I bought a machine.
You didn't buy that from Jaron Kiviat's website?
No.
Oh, okay.
I bought a machine that can cut
Oh, my gosh.
I bought the t-shirt and
I'm already thinking of like 10 mildly inappropriate t-shirts I want you to make.
Good, because I was going to make you one of something different, and then it was too difficult, so I gave up.
Hey,
next time.
That's the can-do spirit that we like to have here on Mets Wrap 360. Now, before we dive into this week, it was a couple weeks ago, but it's since you were here, there was an amazing revelation during the broadcast about your pal Gary Cohen, #Gare.
Yes.
And we have the photo here, if our friend in the booth, Bonjour Juliette, could put it up for the audience on YouTube. And a lot of people have probably seen it, but we can tweet it out after the show as well.
So I actually tried to get the long hair picture on this
onto the shirt.
Yeah, but the
Was it too
resolution is
pixelated?
so bad that I couldn't get a proper trace. was disappointing.
I would imagine that that's what would happen. But anyway, to the right, for those of you watching on YouTube, is the Gary Cohen we know and love. And I don't know what was going on. I feel like he was a roadie for the Allman Brothers Band or something at that point. But, he's been doing Mets baseball for a long time. So I've sort of, even before he was on TV, I knew who he was and I knew what he looked like. That has to be a really long time ago that he had all that hair, because he has not had hair. Well, probably not in the lifetime, maybe of yourself, but definitely not with our friend in the booth, Bonjour Juliette, whom I know is 22. I don't think he's had hair in her entire lifetime. But that hair, that might not even be in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm 40. Proud,
pretty beautiful,
proud of
though.
it. So anyway, we love Gary, and that was a great game because I think they won the game and they were having fun. That was one of those blowout games where it's good when it's a blowout game in the Mets' favor and they're having fun. When it's a blowout against the Mets and then they're just trying to make the best of it, it's enjoyable in a different way. Like the 19-inning game in St. Louis where Keith was furious that he had to cancel his dinner reservation. Anyway, so we're very excited about all that. One of the other things we're excited about is, as I alluded to at the top of the show, the Mets are in prime contention for the wild card. Now, there is a lot of work to be done. There's been a great deal has been made about how the Mets have a very light schedule compared to the other teams. But as we do the show tonight, here's where the wild card stands. So the San Francisco Giants have a 1.5 lead on the first wild card over the St. Louis Cardinals, who are wild card 2 at this point. And what we kind of hope for as Mets fans, that a lot of these teams play 500 or even hopefully sub 500 baseball in the next few weeks. So the Mets are a 1.5 back of that second wild card position. Pittsburgh is now at 500. They are 3.5 back. Miami just dipped a game under 500 with a late game loss to the Cleveland Indians. So the Marlins are now 4 games back of the wild card. So, tonight's game is a great opportunity for the Mets to put a little distance between themselves and keep pace with St. Louis, who won. And that's what we need to see is, just consistently. This was a great week. The best record for the Mets during a week of Mets Wrap 360 is 4-2. And that is what we've had again this week because we cannot count tonight's game, which will give you occasional updates. But, Melissa, please tell the audience why we cannot give play-by-play information on tonight's game.
We do not have express written consent from Major League Baseball and the Sterling Mets.
We don't. We also don't have it from the Washington Nationals or ESPN, who is the broadcaster tonight. They would definitely be very upset if we were doing play-by-play.
That's true.
But it's the bottom of the first, no score. But at this very moment, there's a couple men on. But we'll let you know where that goes. So other things that are exciting though, September call-ups. Wow. I love September call-ups. It usually makes me sad because it means the baseball season's almost over, but hopefully the Mets have a few more weeks in them after we get to October. But Conforto's back. Very excited about that. Kevin Plawecki, I've been very hard on in the course of this show. But as a third catcher, great.
Yes,
I like
sure.
the idea of having a third catcher. And Ty Kelly's back, who I gave Mets Player of the Week a few weeks ago. Gabriel Yanoa, no,
Sure.
I don't who you are, but welcome to the show. I just thought of that now. That was
very
not
good.
a joke in there. And I was just like, wait, I don't know. Now, don't worry. After the 51 season ends, I think today, or it's tomorrow, because it's, the 51s are not in playoff contention for the Pacific Coast League, which is good because the Mets need those players. So we're going to see Brandon Nimmo, who is the Pacific Coast League batting champion right now. Number 2, TJ Rivera. Number 3, Gavin Cecchini. So it seems like someone in the Mets farm system is going to be the Pacific Coast League batting title champion. And hopefully we get all of those guys up and some more, I don't know. I mean, just go with the full 40. You can have 40. Bring them all up. Have everybody, have guys for pinch running duty, That's fine. Somebody who never gets an at-bat and just pinch runs, no problem. So, Melissa, are you excited when the September call-ups come up? Do you like to see some familiar faces?
Usually no, I'm going to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, so I do like the September call-ups for seeing people that we saw in spring training. I feel
Right.
like this year's a bit of an anomaly because we did lose so many of our starters and we've basically been playing with a AAA lineup all year.
We started doing September call-ups in May, basically.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
exactly. So
but that's
because
true.
of that, I feel like this isn't as exciting because I mean, with the exception of, who we've only seen, I think, twice.
Yeah.
Everyone else we've seen pretty consistently over the last couple of months.
Yeah, even even after he was initially sent down, Conforto came back up.
Exactly.
And Nimmo's been on what they call the Vegas shuttle a couple of times. So Cicchini we haven't seen this season, though, have we?
No, we haven't.
But I do remember him from last year.
Right, and I'm excited to see TJ Rivera back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But I feel like it'll be nice to have Kevin Plawecki back, especially with the Mets luck going into extra inning games and Terry's,
well, just
love of...
your inability to pinch hit for your catcher.
Yeah.
It's like to use either d'Arnaud as a pinch hitter off the bench or to pinch hit for him, and then you're only down to one. Having 3 catchers is a luxury that you really only get in September. Very few teams do that anymore. They usually opt for the extra arm in the bullpen. Look, I'm excited. There's always the case to be made about September call-ups that during the most important month of the season for the teams that are in contention, you're basically changing the rules of the game and you can have more players. But the fact that everyone can have more players is great. Last night we saw Dusty Baker really just kind of wring the chamois, every little last drop out of extra position players from September call-ups. So, look, everybody gets to do it. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these guys. I think that Conforto has definitely found his swing. It's good to see him back. And
succeeding in that center field role so far, anyway.
Which we need somebody who can play center field, and I'd love it if it's him. Anyway, so other news, the disabled list, Steven Matz still not back. Might be back, though. It's a very gray area. Unfortunately, Neil Walker will not be back. He opted to have season-ending surgery. Very real chance that we saw his last at-bat in a Mets uniform. I mean, he was great. They could re-sign him. I don't know that they need to. Yes, Dilson Herrera's not there anymore, but,
Speaking of him.
Yes. You have something about him?
Yeah.
Really?
Wayne Randazzo, who you guys might know from the Mets radio broadcast.
He does the pregame and sometimes sits in for Josh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he tweeted earlier today that Dilson Herrera could get a call-up this week to face the Mets in Cincinnati.
Ooh.
And
he might play
heart
angry.
Stopped.
Right, because you don't want him to be up there with something to prove.
Exactly.
Well, we'll talk about that Cincinnati series in a little bit, but that's interesting. See, I didn't even know that Herrera might get called up. I guess it makes sense, though. So that's unfortunate, but there was good DL news. Duda might be back. I had written him off for the year.
But what?
What?
I don't think I believe that.
Why would they say it if it wasn't true?
To make their training staff look slightly better than
to
we
make sure that
all are
nobody
making them out
loses
to be.
their
Yeah.
job. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited at the idea that we could see Duda. I think it'd be good. I mean, I think that we've gotten way more out of James Loney than we expected, and Wilmer over there at first base on occasion has been great. And by the way, after one inning, the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Granderson was out on a sac fly to Jason Worth, and Reyes scored. So 1-0. There's a chance for more, but you know what? We're going to take 1-0 in the bottom of the first. So that's great. We'll keep you posted if there's any more scoring chances. But for now, we're going to go in the Wayback Machine, take a look at the week in review, what started out as a fantastic week and was still a good week. But the first few days of this week were amazing. And we'll start, obviously, with Monday when Montero had to pitch.
Wow.
Which we've seen him enough. And I mean, he'd been in the majors this year and he came into that game with like an 11 ERA. I think it was only as a relief pitcher. It wasn't a lot of work, but it was great. And that was a tight game, the whole game. Love to see that Reyes tied the game on he scored on a wild pitch. Collision at the plate, but a legal collision at the plate,
Yes.
which you always wonder with the new rule change as to whether or not you're going to be, ruled safe.
Which umpire is going to have an opinion.
The umpires have a lot of opinions. But, and then, of course, Cespedes with the walk-off home run in the 10th.
But the highlight of that game
Yes.
was James Ehrenstein, the Mets kidcaster for this year.
And as I told you, I did not get to see it.
Ugh.
So what happened? Now, the Mets kidcaster, I think most Mets fans would know, who get to watch the SNY broadcast, either if you're in New York or for those of us who watch on the internet. There have been some great ones.
Yes.
And the first couple years, they all had a home run to call.
Yes.
And then I think is this only the fourth that they've done this one?
I believe this was the 6th or 7th year.
So the last couple have not been as good, just not in terms of the kids, but in terms of what happens in the inning.
But they did change it. It used to be, I don't know for how many years, but at least the first 3, the kidcaster would get to pick which players at bat in that inning that he wanted to call.
Okay.
And he got to call one player in that one at bat.
Oh,
now
okay.
they get to call for the full inning.
No, I love that.
It's
That's
much
great.
better.
Yeah.
So James Aaronstein, he is 8 years old, and
Oh
he is
my
the
God.
youngest kidcaster in kidcaster history.
I'm going to have to go back and watch this. I can't believe I didn't.
He made very clear that he has intentions of replacing Gary.
Wait, your guy? He's going to replace
He's
Gare?
my one and only.
Hashtag Gare?
Yes. Yeah.
So you might have to have a hashtag Aaronstein show
Yeah.
at some point.
And I mean, we'll see. I mean, he's only 8, so give it like 2 years, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But he was fantastic, and talked a little bit how he prepped for the game and his audition process and all that. But
I remember the kid last year. He had come with
robo umpire.
Okay, then maybe it's 2 years ago, but I remember a kid who did it who came with notes, hey, interesting thing about so and so. He's from here. He had
Yeah.
all the conversations. That kid was great.
I think it was the same kid last
Okay.
year who then started asking Gary what his opinions were on having
You know what?
robotic
That
umpires.
he started a conversation in the booth. Yeah, so that was last year. Anyway, I love the kid caster, and again, I had to listen to Howie and Josh. Also, I was working on a Monday night on the Tomorrow Show, so I really couldn't watch/listen anyway, but I find time. I knew that it was a walk-off in the 10th when it happened. So look, that's great. That's the way you need to start, because when the week started, the Marlins were a game up on the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And so you win that game, you're tied with the Marlins in the wild card race. That's all, they're just in jockeying position. There was no actual title to be claimed. So then Tuesday, 7-4, Lugo pitched, and that was a win. These kids, who some of whom are kind of old, but with Lugo, Gesellman, and Montero, look, knock on whatever this is, they've all been this is like plexiglass, I think. They've all been solid. They've been so good, and it's just above and beyond what you could ask for them. And this is pretty far down the pitching depth, for the Mets. So Lugo pitched well, and in that game, Granderson had 2 home runs. Cabrera had a home run. Wilmer and Diaz had hits, and Diaz's average is still low, but every hit seems to matter when he does get it. And he doesn't always come through in a big spot, but when he comes through, it seems that he at least drives in a run. And it's great. He was a guy that I thought they should have cut as soon as they got Jay Bruce. Glad nobody listens to me. I say a lot of things on this show that are wrong, and that would be one of them. So I don't know. I think that was a great game. So then they're a game up on the Marlins. Then we get to Wednesday. Bartolo Colon looked good.
What? How does he get better every time?
Except
for sometimes.
Except for 1 out of every 5. It's like there's you have to throw out every 4th or 5th start for him, but then there's always a trajectory for it, just the bigness and sexiness of Big Sexy just continues to increase with each start. So he looked great. Now he did not get the decision because they had to score later.
Correct.
Kelly Johnson with a huge hit. And Kelly Johnson is Andrea, who's usually here, Andrea's favorite. She loves him because she's like, every time I see the guy, he hits a home run. And,
wow.
So it's kind of true. So look, that was great. A win for Addison Reed, who has been pitching well. There's a little hiccup. It happens to everybody. But the big news was there was a record save, number 44 for Jeurys Familia. And I can finally let a sigh of relief that Armando Benitez no longer has the Mets save record, single season save record. I think Johnny Franco still has the overall save record. I'd have to look that up.
Speaking of other people that were kicking out of the record books, peace out, Aaron Heilman. Reed has officially surpassed him with single season club record for holds.
Well,
are you upset?
No, I'm not upset about that. I was just thinking nobody is ever going to take away his record of blown holds, and especially blown holds in major spots in the playoffs that could send you to the World Series. Anyway, so there's that. So anyway, very exciting. And, I was really down on the Mets a few weeks ago, as viewers and listeners of the show know. I sort of jokingly said that, at that point, I think Familia was at like 40 saves, and I'm like, he's got a month. I don't even know if he's gonna break that record. But obviously he did. And look, so then you're 2 games up on the Marlins. All right, great. Everything's firing on all cylinders. Thursday you got DeGrom going. He looked all right to start. All right, we've got DeGrom. They were going to skip a whole turn, but instead he just got an extra 3 days of rest. And usually that's been great for him. Nope. Not sharp. Something's definitely wrong with him. He's going to miss another turn in the rotation, isn't he?
Another turn.
No.
And Anthony DiComo tweeted just before we went live that Terry said in a presser before the game that it is likely he will miss multiple starts. So
all the starts,
good news.
Bringing the good news. Man, if Steven Matz comes back, it's going to be okay. But I don't know. I mean, we have the 3/5 of the rotation that basically came up right from Vegas. I don't know how long that's going to last, though. So, look, the Mets scored late in that game, but the final was 6-4, and they lost. When we did last week's show, I kind of had the feeling that the first game was the one they were going to lose against Jose Fernandez. And I always said, if, one loss and winning 3, it's going to be great. And that's what they needed to do. So sure, you wanted to really, kind of step on the throat of the Marlins, who, by the way, at this point have won 2, I think, of their last 9 games. So they're definitely on a downward trajectory. The Mets have to hope that continues. The Pirates are on a downward trajectory, and they're about to play the Cubs, who there's kind of no stopping, but, let's just hope that's a problem for the Mets in late October, that they have to face the Cubs in the series. And so a lot of those, and the Giants are also on a downward trajectory. The Cardinals are playing reasonably well, but we'll see how they do during the next month, I guess, basically. It's like pretty much exactly a month at this point. So we'll see. So the Mets, they did give a half game back. And then on Friday, Syndergaard pitched really well. However, he gave up 2 runs at the beginning of the game, and that was basically it. And they were runs that he should not have given up because the Nats were just running wild on him. And, the Mets have done a lot to control the running game lately. But Syndergaard, I feel like it's still really difficult for him to keep runners on. And I'm going to assume, and I'll ask Melissa what you think on this, I feel like what they realize is it throws him out of his routine too much to really pay too much attention to the base runners, so they just let it go. Because if he really starts focusing on them and throwing over a lot, it's gonna mess up what he does, throwing to home plate. Do you think that that's the case?
Absolutely. And I don't remember if it was on the radio or TV or whatever, but one of the broadcasters discussed earlier this year that Syndergaard really needs to work on his, his windup or lack thereof with runners on base, because it was the same amount of time between, his windup was the same length, whether there were runners on or not.
Right.
And I think he's so good. The likelihood of a runner being on is slim for him compared to how they are for other people. But the negative side of that is that he's not getting enough experience in learning to speed up his pitches with runners on and being able to, look them back to first base or throw them out when they're trying to steal second and third, Trey Turner.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? It's a learning process. I think he'll get there, but for now it's frustrating to watch.
It is. It's very frustrating to watch because you feel like, and honestly, I mean, he doesn't throw to d'Arnaud usually. Usually, I mean, I actually can't think of the last time. It's been a while, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, so it's always his name's Rivera, right?
Yeah, but that's
totally had a brain
fart.
fart.
That's what I'm checking.
Yeah, but anyway, so he usually throws to Rivera, who is much better at keeping base runners on, and they were the stolen base attempts were closer, but still successful than if they had been for d'Arnaud. So Rivera catching Syndergaard is definitely something that helps that equation, but it was not successful, so they lost that game. That was 2 games in a row where you felt like they could have won, but they didn't. And then you just always have to turn the page. And then Saturday, was a great matchup, and they won 3-1. Gesellman over Tanner Roark.
Who knew?
I mean,
nobody.
He's had 3 appearances now, 2 starts. He's had a few. He's had 2 starts.
2 starts, and then the one game he came in the first.
Essentially came in to start. Yeah, in San Francisco.
Hurt, yeah.
So he had 2 starts and 1 appearance, and he has been great. and again, above and beyond the expectations for a guy like Gesellman. Now, there were some great things in that game, and I wanted you to talk to our listeners about our listeners and viewers, because we have both, both on iTunes and on YouTube, and talk about Josh Smoker, how he was unable to contain his excitement at a couple moments during the game.
He and Brandon Nimmo are so similar and so different. They're both overcome with emotion. They can't hide it during the game. But Brandon is just sheer joy or nothing. There's never anger. It's, oh, well, get him next time. And Josh is like, I'm going to rip the walls down because I did it. I struck out Bryce Harper.
I did, yeah.
And you know what? I don't blame him. Coming from the team that drafted him and then traded him away, I would be excited, too, to strike out their number one player. I don't know if
she used air quotes there.
I'm not super convinced of that.
Well, he's not their number one player this year. That would be Daniel Murphy, who, knock on plexiglass, has looked mortal in these first two games. So I think that instead of doing what I said they should do, which is knock him down, they've probably, figured out a little better approach to him. And, you're definitely going to incite a riot from the Nats bench if you knock him down. So how about you just get him out? And so far, that's happened. I don't want that to look prophetic at the end of tonight, but for right now, that's how it's looked. So before we kind of move on, are there any, Melissa always has some great facts. She takes copious, color-coded notes, which she has right there in front of her. Are there anything that you want to get back to, something from earlier in the week? I did kind of breeze through the week, but...
yeah, I do want to talk about two challenges. One that happened and one that should have happened. First of all, let's go back to Thursday when Terry challenged Darno safe at first. Well, they called him out. Finally, Terry challenges a call in the ninth.
Right.
Because when you have a challenge in the ninth, you use it.
You don't get to take it home.
No.
And keep it in your pocket. Yeah.
And yes, we still lost the game.
But
right after that, Cabrera hit a 2-run home run, which would have been a solo home run had Darno not been on base. So thanks, Terry, for doing what we all wanted you to do forever.
Yeah. So, maybe now he has the experience and, maybe I'll try that in the night.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the one that he didn't challenge was
yes,
yesterday.
Please. Which is a game that they won.
Yes.
So in hindsight, it's less significant, but in the moment.
Well, there's two things that really bothered me about it. One, in the third inning, Jose Reyes was advancing, I believe, first to third, and he collided with Espinoza in the base path. And Jose was signaling for obstruction immediately, and they awarded him third base, which he was 5 feet from to begin with.
Right.
First of all, so they said it was obstruction, he get third, not home. Fine. One, why didn't Terry challenge? Because it is a challengeable call.
Right.
And again, it's up to the umpire, under their discretion, the guys in Chelsea. So, hey, just throw a coin up in the air, figure out who's in the booth.
So it's true. There's a chance that it could have gone their way. Yeah.
And the other thing that really bothers me is, Jose, I get that you're calling for obstruction, but chill out. Don't you think that if you kept running without throwing your arms up in the air and asking for a call immediately, that maybe you would have turned third already, and maybe the obstruction call still would have been made and you would have been awarded home?
It's a good time to mention, sitting right in front of me is indeed the bottle of Cabernet, and Reyes has played very well this week. But, a moment like that means that it stays unopened for another week. And Andrea would kill me if we drank it without her being here. So we're going to have a wine and cheese party at some point.
But that's going to be like a toss-up, because if we're opening it means Jose did something great. But if there's cheese here, it means that there was a terrible week for the Mets.
The cheese will have to be here just to celebrate, though.
Because it'll be like a stress-eating thing.
It's exactly what it'll be. And by the way, in New York, they are in the bottom of the second. It is tied 1-1, and we will keep you posted as that game advances. The Mets do have a man on, no outs in the bottom of the second, but it was a Danny Espinoza solo home run off Seth Lugo, which, when you see that early in the game, all you can say is, hey, at least it was a solo home run.
Exactly.
But keep your pitches down there, Lugo. All right, so tonight, speaking of tonight, pitching for the Nats is Reynaldo Lopez.
Who?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Do you know who he's not? Max Scherzer, who was supposed to pitch tonight. And we all know how Max Scherzer pitches against the Mets.
I seem to remember a no-hitter.
There was a no-hitter at the end of the season where it sort of didn't matter, but it was when I still wanted them to try and get home field advantage, which they didn't really want. And it turns out it didn't matter through the NL playoffs when, they weren't going to have home field advantage in the World Series anyway. So I guess it wasn't as big a deal. But in the moment, I was like, well, that sucked that they just got no hit. And Max Scherzer, by the way, did not always pitch well against the Mets. In fact, early last September did not pitch well against them. And part of the massive meltdown of the Nats, which does not seem to be happening this year, at least not to the Mets.
We can still hope.
We can still hope because, the Mets are only 9.5 games back. So, do the math.
You're saying there's a shot.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a shot. But anyway, look, the point is it's Reynaldo Lopez against Max Scherzer. And, instead of, you're right, it's against Seth
But
Lugo.
I would watch that.
That'd be interesting, actually, if they would do that. My money would be on Scherzer. But no, against Lugo, but it's Reynaldo Lopez. And sometimes that kind of last-minute change for the Mets doesn't go their way, and somebody throws a no-hitter on them. But look, they've already got a run on the board.
Well, as it did Wednesday against Miami with Esch getting his major league debut.
Esch.
Yeah. I want to call him Ash.
Well, I kept just referring to him as MC Escher because I couldn't remember what his name was. And
I'm not funny.
He kind of pitched.
So
he sort of pitched that way, where like his pitches sort of went down a staircase that never ended. So he was very hittable, is what I'm saying about MC Escher. But here's the thing: they won that game. We can have hope for this game, more hope than we would against Scherzer. And here's the annoying thing: we talked a little bit about this last week. So they have tonight's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, and that's great. They're on the big stage. It's kind of a game that doesn't really matter for either team in the sense of it's not like last year, sort of at this time, putting this game on Sunday night. And by putting it on Sunday night, gives the Mets only a few hours to be on the field tomorrow morning. They will be on the field in the morning, getting ready, doing their stretches for a 1 p.m. game in Cincinnati. What were you saying that you read? Was it Anthony DeComo tweeted?
Yeah, DeComo tweeted that best case scenario, the Mets get into the hotel room in Cincinnati at 4 a.m.
4 a.m. So, maybe you sleep 6 hours. Now, starting tomorrow is Bartolo Colon. Nobody better to be starting that game, on a quick turnaround. If it was any other pitcher, you feel pretty confident they would have sent him on ahead, let him relax, maybe start a new family. You just hang out and he'd be relaxed and ready to go. But, Colon's like, I'm not even going to sleep tonight anyway, so don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. So we'll see. Although that's one of those ballparks. It's going to be in the afternoon. I don't know what the humidity is going to be there. I'm just going to guess it's going to be somewhere right around 1,000%. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that game plays out. That's rough for the Mets. And I feel like it's a game that, they're going to have to run out some of the, the irregulars, as they say.
Yeah, well, I mean...
And they're going to, I think, tomorrow they won't have more of their September call-ups just yet.
No, it won't be till Tuesday.
So, maybe a lot of those guys will start on Tuesday. But anyway, what were you going to say, Melissa?
I think it'll be nice. I mean, Jay Bruce going back to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think I read something, somebody's going to correct me, but that he has hit the most home runs ever at Great American Ballpark.
I think that's true. And look, he's definitely been pressing while he's been with the Mets. He's looked better the last few games. You know? He's had a home run, he's had a couple of hits. I think hitting in that ballpark against pitchers that he's very familiar with, to be honest, is probably going to be, as they say, home cooking. And it'll probably treat him well. And I like to think he'll have a good 3-game series there, and then hopefully he can carry that on through the rest of the season. And if he doesn't, Terry has said that whoever's hitting is going to play. If Jay Bruce doesn't hit, I hope he doesn't play. Yeah. Because I don't care how much money he's making. I don't care who you traded away for him.
They get paid whether they hit or not. So
exactly.
Sit him on the bench.
So just sit him on the bench. It's fine. Try and win some games.
Exactly. And even with Bruce playing back in Cincinnati, I mean, terrible news for the Reds today, but Billy Hamilton left the game with a strained left oblique, which is terrible for him and the Reds, but great news for the Mets.
It's you didn't cheer for it to happen, but when it did happen, you're a little relieved because Billy Hamilton could could steal 3 bases in the course of one at bat. One pitch. One pitch. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's
a Met killer.
That Bugs Bunny pitch that he struck out 3 batters on. Billy Hamilton could steal 3 bases. So anyway, it'll be interesting, that series that we will have. there. So it's a day game tomorrow and then a Tuesday night game. And then we have another day game on Wednesday. So for those of us on the West Coast, a 9:35 a.m. start, which is good for me because Felix will be in daycare at that point. Tuesday is going to be Montero. Wednesday is going to be Syndergaard, who does pitch very well during the day. But man, 12:35 in Cincinnati in early September, which is definitely still summer.
Yeah.
Let's see how he can keep the ball down. I don't know who these Reds pitchers are. Like, that game is D. Sclifanti, maybe. And Finnegan, don't know him.
Oh, Brandon Finnegan, yeah. He got called up, I want to say with the Cardinals, and he was the guy that had just pitched in the College World Series a few weeks
okay,
before.
I do actually remember the name, yeah. Great. And we have, so we have the update from New York is that it is still 1-1. Anyway, so that's kind of the week ahead. You know, we have those 3 games in Cincinnati, and then we have 3 games in Atlanta. So we'll see how those go. But those are games that the Mets should win, most of them. Wouldn't you agree, Melissa?
I think they can easily go 2 for 3, but, you know, I'll be optimistic here and ask for a sweep.
You mean a 6-game sweep?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely what I meant, for sure.
I mean, I think that would be great.
It wouldn't
hurt.
Hurt.
Like to win the whole week, including tonight, by the way. That'd be 7. That's what we need, I would say. But they should be able to win the majority of those games. And then, you know, tonight they've scored a run. It's tied. We'll see how it goes. So as we look back at the week, Melissa.
I'm ready.
Actually, before we get to Player of the Week, I want Melissa to show something off.
Oh.
So we'll use Melissa's camera over here. We want her to show this Mets coloring book, which is great. And tell us a little bit about it and when it's from.
This is a 1965 Mets coloring book. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I will definitely tweet some pictures out after the show at Melissa Wine on Twitter. But I am very obsessed with coloring books, and I found this on eBay, and I bought it, and I'm never going to color in it, despite how much I love coloring books.
No, you can't.
It's just beautiful. And it's the first page is Mr. Met with his cap on his chest during the national anthem. And it says, "Oh, Shay, can you see?"
Love that, but Mr. Met with his hat off is a little
looks like Gary
tonight.
Cohen.
Yeah, it does look like Gary Cohen. Current Gary Cohen.
Yes.
So anyway, love that, and yeah, Melissa will send some pictures of that, or she'll tweet some pictures at Melissa Wine. So as we get to Player of the Week, I do want to give huge credit to Rafael Montero. He's part of that 3-headed rookie beast with Gesellman and Lugo. But I got to give it to Granderson, who has just looked really good at the plate. He's had some success at the plate, got a hit with runners in scoring position, which we kept hearing about how he hadn't done all year, and he really hadn't done in a long time with 2 outs. So, this is like, hey, buck up, Grandy. Things are looking better. I feel good about you. Grandy, you're my guy this week. Melissa, who's yours?
I'm going to hop on the Grandy bandwagon.
Yeah, the Grandwagon?
Oh, man.
Yes! Just thought of that now.
Why didn't I think of that?
I'm going to have a little sip.
That was brilliant. Yes, absolutely, Curtis Granderson. He had 5 of... Where did I write all these notes? He had 5 of the Mets' 22 runs over the last 6 games.
Wow.
And 5 RBIs. And he was hitting .278, which was not the best of all of them. Cespedes was hitting .285. But you know what? Cespedes needs to back off. It's not his turn every week.
No, he can't every week. But he has looked good, and that's important. So look, it's a Grandy week. It's a grand week.
Stop!
What? I just can't help it now. But anyway, and it's been a grand Mets Wrap 360 with our friend Melissa Wine, at Melissa Wine. Her name's actually Melissa Weinstein, but she's at Melissa Wine. Now, I understand you'll be back here in 2 weeks with us. Hopefully you'll be here with Andrea and Matt. But Andrea, Matt, and I will be here next week. And don't forget to follow the show at ABTV Mets and like us on iTunes and rate us, comment, all the good stuff that gets the show in a better position for when people are searching for Mets podcasts, of which there are many, but none as delightful as ours. So thanks to everybody. Thanks again to Melissa. I'm Christian Bladt, at Christian DMZ. And as I said, at ABTV Mets, that's us. We'll see you next week for Mets Wrap 360.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.